Hey guys, this is Roman. He is a Congo African Grey parrot, and this is his human Anne. And they used to have a great relationship together, but then some tough things happened in life, and now their relationship is pretty much Roman bites Anne any chance he gets, and now she can only move him around with the use of a very thick towel. Anne and Roman's relationship currently consists of she grabs the towel, Roman steps up on it, but also bites the absolute crap out of it, wishing that it was actually Anne's flesh, and gets moved around the house this way. This is the only way that Anne can handle Roman. Otherwise, if he sees flesh, he's going to get it. My husband Dave and I are here to help Anne be able to have a better relationship with Roman than what it currently is. So we've already gone over what the ideal diet for him is. We've found his favorite treats, and Anne is now moving him from his large enclosure to a separate space to sleep in the evenings so he gets uninterrupted 12 hours of sleep every single night. Because Anne is so scared to physically interact with Roman, and Roman just looks like he is dying to take a chunk out of her, we decide not to work on any sort of physical training in the beginning. The first thing we want to work on is teaching Anne how to read Roman's body language and also how to respect it. It's one thing that we hear all the time in our classes and in-home consultations is people tend to recognize when a bird says no. They just don't respect it, and they always force the issue. And as tolerant as a bird might be of this in the immediate sense, after a while, they get tired of not having a choice or any control over their environment. And they start saying no through biting instead of body language. Here, we're teaching Anne how to do what's called target training or touch training. It's where the bird learns to touch the very end of a chopstick or another targeting object. The reason we teach target training is to be able to move a bird from point A to point B. So to get it in and out of the cage, off of our arm, off of the counter, onto the counter, into the cage. You can get a bird to go anywhere through the use of targeting in a hands-off way where it is the bird's choice to go there, even though it's also what you want, without having to force your bird. So instead of having to towel this bird to get it back in the cage, she could simply target the bird back into the cage. This is a much nicer tactic. It's hands-off, so the bird doesn't have to worry about needing to bite you, and you don't need to worry about getting bit by the bird because there's that nice safe distance. Also, Anne is terrified of giving treats to Roman because sometimes instead of taking a treat, he actually just bites her hand. And so we have her giving a treat out of a food dish. This way, her energy isn't so chaotic and nervous around interacting with Roman. That's something that we need to keep in mind is that animals are very in tune with the energy that we put off. So if we're extremely fearful or frustrated, it's very easy for them to pick up on that and not want to hang out with us or interact with us in a training session especially. A lot of the times we don't realize how our environment may not be set up for the animal to successfully communicate to us. So what I mean by this is how does Roman tell Anne, hey, I want to come out and hang out with you? He doesn't really have a way in his current environment, so we actually put a perch on the door of his aviary and started teaching him that every time he was there, Anne would have a training session which would give him the opportunity to earn food rewards that he really likes. So he starts to learn to go to that perch specifically when he wants that one-on-one interaction. And then we've also paired that spot in the aviary to you get to come out when you come here as well. Or at least there's a high likelihood that you'll get to come out when you go here. So now Roman has learned that all I need to do is come to this green perch on my aviary door and I'll most likely get taken out for interaction. It's a really cool way to set up a bird's environment for them to be able to communicate to you. The cool thing about training is that it's mentally taxing. So it's just as exhausting as it would be to be physically active. And at the end of the day, especially at the end of a training session day with us, you'll notice that birds look quite calm and relaxed and are happy and content to just sort of hang out. which is what a lot of bird people want their bird to do, and don't realize that you kind of need to earn that status with a bird. You need to give them mentally engaging things to do with you, such as training, or give them physically engaging things to do. In Roman's case, he can't actually fly due to some medical issues, so we're relying on our training. At in-home consultations, when we aren't training the bird, because we like to keep our sessions relatively short, we are talking through methods and different scenarios to set up these birds for success for when we leave. One of the reasons I believe that birds might do what we refer to as annoying or obnoxious behaviors or unacceptable behaviors to us humans, something that Roman does that Anne pointed out to us, was he clicks the bars of his cage, and it really drives her crazy. So in an effort to help curb that behavior, I was looking at his enclosure and it was pretty bare, and I thought he doesn't really have anything better to do than entertain himself by picking at the bars. So we ran to a local pet store and grabbed up a whole bunch of different types of toys that Anne could put in the enclosure and Roman could just go to town on. This consultation definitely taught me I should be traveling with a bunch of my own BirdTricks toys so that I could have gone 100% all natural versus what they have in the pet shops nowadays. But I had to work with what I had. Now you may be wondering why we're okay with Anne using a towel at all to step this bird up. And the reason is they have already established a pattern that this is how it goes. Also, Anne is just in a place in her life where she can't afford to be bit, and we cannot guarantee that any of our training within a 2 to 3 day in-home consultation period with all the previous history that these two have had together will make it so that he will never bite. Getting bit by your bird is not necessarily part of bird ownership unless you aren't reading and respecting your bird's body language, which we're all human and we all make those mistakes. I made that mistake over the summer with my Camelot macaw Comet. We're normally buddies. We weren't a couple times this summer, and because I just assumed we were and I was not open to reading his body language, I actually got bit. So even as trainers, it can surprise us and happen to us. We need to always be asking our birds questions versus giving them demands and ultimatums. The one key thing that I want to drive home about having the use of this towel in place is that we want to make sure Roman doesn't feel forced to step up, like he has no other choice because no matter how hard he bites the towel, nothing bad happens to the human to be able to pull that away. So we want to teach Anne the tools that she never actually gets close enough with the towel to be bitten because she's reading the body language correctly. We also want to teach Roman that if you step up nicely onto the towel and don't bite it aggressively, then a treat is coming and is going to be there for you. So we want to teach him that stepping up on the towel is a trick, is a behavior that you get rewarded for instead of something that you're made to do. However, we're dealing with a lot of history between these two that has already said you will do this no matter what. So there's a lot of habits to kind of undo, and there's a lot of associations to repair. And that can be really difficult, especially in a 2-day time frame, which is what we had with Anne and Roman. It's something that she will have to really keep going at on her own and be very particular about how she reads Roman's body language. So not to backtrack. A lot of people wonder how to work with their bird outside of the cage when it won't willingly come out of the cage or that person cannot handle their bird. This is exactly the scenario Anne is in the position of, which is why we've installed, again, that perch on the aviary door. What that has done has opened the door literally for Anne to be able to train him. So she gets the message, hey, you want to train with me because he goes to this perch. She can step him up nicely now on the towel and put him onto a training stand. If, however, you aren't to this point with your bird, you can actually move a training stand up against your bird's cage door and target them onto the training stand and then target them back in the cage. Remember, for every scary thing or intimidating thing you ask them to do, you also want to ask something easy that builds their confidence. I also want to point out here that everybody's starting point looks a little bit different because your confidence level differs from the person next to you. Your bird's response or reaction to how you train differs from your neighbor. So keep in mind that if your starting point looks worse than this or maybe a little better than this is a judgment-free zone. We just want a starting point. That's all that matters, is that you know where you're starting from and can kind of build from there. Keep in mind that small approximations in the right direction are awesome, and it means that you're making progress and that you're working towards your goal. Try not to jump ahead or lose the bird's trust, because it will really cut you back and not only ruin your confidence with your bird, but ruin your bird's trust in you. You need to be willing to go at the pace of your bird and your own confidence. Sometimes our confidence is greater than the birds and we need to be patient. And sometimes the birds are going faster than we can handle and we need to take a step back and look at ourselves for that and see what we can improve to be better communicators. If your bird isn't doing what you're asking it to do, it usually means that it's a reflection on your training and that you aren't giving enough information to the bird for it to know what exactly you want. Or maybe you haven't set up the environment for the bird to easily do what you want. Keep in mind, if you were trying to get your friend to sit down as a trained behavior, but you couldn't communicate, how would you do that and set that up for your friend to succeed and not get frustrated with you? This is really the mindset of the animal and will help you have a little bit more tolerance and patience working them through these different ideals that you have.
I think the biggest thing from a training standpoint is really trying to do everything to avoid heightened behavior.
And that's the other thing, is I need to watch his body language better. And that's kind of so crazy that it was like that, but it was just such a routine way of looking at him that you just then, it's like watching a child grow. You don't know between 2 and 3, you know, you'll see somebody on the street saying, oh, why your little child has grown so much. You don't recognize it. And I think I've just looked at him so long with crappy, floofy feathers that I just didn't pay attention.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, too, for your defenses, it was working, right? And it was working until it wasn't, where now it's becoming more aggressive. If you kind of look at like the birdie bullying effect, where it's like you didn't realize you were ignoring all the polite ways of saying no, and then you found a way where you got what you needed, but it just escalated to the point where now we've got to show him, like, notice the difference of aggression he showed you versus me or Jamie. He never got to the full-on like attack because we hadn't formed that relationship with him. He saw that we would respect the subtle no's, and so he didn't need to match force with force.
Right.
If you're interested in hiring us for an in-home consultation, you can do so by emailing us directly at info@birdtricks.com or visiting our website at birdtricks.com.